Let's talk about the gut then, because there's multiple things that you just said there that all you've led back to the gut. In hindsight, everyone listening and watching are going, well done for trusting your gut. But there are many times that, at least for me, I've trusted my gut and I was wrong. And I've learned my lesson and then I move on. So I want to start with you're a news anchor, you've got the blotches, nothing was working for you, you're going to try your own. What made you trust your gut in that sense? Because like you said, you had college debt, so you have all this stuff that's stacked against you. It's based on beauty, which for women is very emotional. So how did you keep going and like try to find the solution instead of just hide away? Like, what are the things that you told yourself that pushed you to keep going and trust your gut that this was the right path for you?
I've always had this feeling deep down inside, like I'm meant to do great things that help other people.
Interesting.
I've always kind of just known it. Even when I took the low-paying job to learn journalism instead of like a super high-paying, consultant or banking job, I just feel like if we get one life, I want to, like, the day I die, which God willing, it's a long time in the future, like I want to literally know there's nothing left in me that could have been used to help someone else.
And you felt that even back when you were the news anchor? Wow. So, because I actually didn't feel like that.
No?
I do now.
You do now,
I feel like
so
now, like
right?
my purpose of all the failures that I've had, all the problems, all the health issues, my purpose now is to speak it so that it can help other people.
And
but back when I started, it didn't. It was actually, if I can be so honest, it was out of pure ego. So when people told me you can't do it, you're not good enough to do it, you're dumb, you're stupid, what are you doing, you're not talented, I was just stubborn enough to say, I can do it. I'm going to prove them wrong. And it was out of stubbornness, not out of like, I want to share it with the world, that actually pushed me to then show myself what I was capable of.
So you were driven by ego because you're like, I'm going to prove them wrong.
Exactly. Then I realized, wow, I'm actually did do it and I'm kind of capable. And so then it's like, well, if you're capable, what else can you do? And so that became the foundation of then, okay, maybe I have a superpower. So if I have a superpower now, how am I going to help others? So it kind of became a transition for me versus then just an initial, like, from the beginning. So that's why it's really impressive that you felt that even before you had any validation that you can do it or that you have the ability to do it.
Yeah, I've always had that feeling. And it's funny that you say this. I've definitely done things for ego. I have definitely done things for ego. And most of the time when I do that, I regret it. It doesn't feel right, right? You know what I'm saying? And sometimes I do stuff on ego and it turns out great and whatever, but it's like, it doesn't compare to that feeling of knowing you're doing something bigger than yourself. I feel like when you spend the time to really think about your why and why you're doing it, why or how it's bigger than yourself, that will sustain you through so many hard times, right? Because just hearing some of what you're sharing, I'm having flashbacks even to so many of the hard times, even once we finally got yeses and finally we're on QVC and all of that, when you're putting in 100-hour weeks and when stuff doesn't go your way and all that, and when your why is bigger than yourself, it sometimes it's like that's the only thing that gets you through those hard times and keeps you going. Because sometimes if it's just for ourselves or our own ego, it's not a strong enough why. When you are so burnt out and you feel defeated and you feel like self-doubt's entering your mind, it's like money isn't a strong enough why, because you can go get another job and get money. You know what I mean? It's like really peeling back the layers on what you're doing and really getting to that true why that means so much to you. And for some people, it's, I'm going to change this generation of my family. Where I come from is not where I'm going. I'm not going to have my children go through what I went through, right? And that why is huge. It doesn't have to be a why to go change the outside world. It might be a why to change inside your own home. And sometimes just like not just not giving up and just keeping going is the difference too in making it. You know what I mean?
Oh, so how do you do that then when you're in a moment?
Yeah.
So you've got your why, very
Yeah.
strong why.
Yes.
You're going to impact women and how they feel about themselves. It's
Yes.
not just like you want to make them super glamorous. It's
Yeah.
like you're going to change how they feel about themselves.
Yeah.
And that can lead to so many incredible things, being a better mother, being a better wife, being a better employee, a better business owner, whatever it is. I think that can really lead to something.
Yeah.
So you've got your strong why. Now, you've got your strong why, but you only have $1,000 left.
Yes, I know.
How is the why strong enough to get you through it? Or was
Yeah.
there something else that you had to do to tell yourself, like, no, keep going? Because that's where people go like, all right, look, at some point, if something is failing, at some point you have to let it go.
Yeah. So two things. So for me, and this is so personal to everyone and to what they believe in.
Yeah.
For me, faith is huge in my life, and I feel like I hear my faith through my gut feelings. You know, I really do. And there were nights where I was just like, is this what we're supposed to do? That combined with really freaking hard work and like, let's just keep it really real, because sometimes, and I don't know how we're going here to Denny's and all the really real stuff, but what I love about it is, you know, if any of your community has heard any of my story before, they've probably just heard the $1 billion fairy tale. And the real of it is, when we were under $1,000, we were trying to get SBA loans from anyone that would give one. No one would give one, and they shouldn't have, because it's like, you know, you're trying to show a business plan for projected sales when you don't even have any. You know, we were doing 2 to 3 orders a day on our website, but you know what? It's a choice. I chose, instead of having a job that paid me a salary, I chose to be an entrepreneur. And it's like, okay, but you got to hustle, and you got to, you know, sometimes that's what you have to just do.
Because you didn't take like a day off, right? You guys, you and your husband worked like 100-hour work week, 7 days a week for 10 years.
For 10 years.
And I think it, like you said, it's important to stress that. You freaking busted your ass.
Yeah, we did. And it was like when we got down to $1,000, we went and spent part of it on IKEA desks to put in the living room, because we had an in-person office tour with California Bank and Trust, which was the last bank that was going to consider giving us an SBA loan. And but that, you know, we got the last person said yes on the SBA loan, which kept us alive a little bit longer. We were still only doing the 2 to 3 orders a day from our website, and right around that time we got a first yes finally for QVC, but we had one shot and only 10 minutes. And
you'd been going after QVC for a long time,
going
right?
after him for a long time, and always hearing no. I remember, oh my gosh, like the number of no's from everybody. And so there is a guy named Alan Burke who was like the head of beauty at QVC, and he got all of those like really high-end department store beauty brands to really want to go on QVC and all the designer brands. And so he was the head of all of it. And I remember one day I finally got, I think it was a call from his assistant saying he wants to have a call with you. He's reviewed your product. And I like thought this was going to be our big break. And he was very quick, and he said, I reviewed your product with our buyers, and you're not the right fit for QVC. I'm sorry, and I wish you the best of luck. And I just remember crying myself to sleep that night. And just, you know, have you ever like had something happen where, you know, that goes wrong or doesn't go your way, and then like the next day you wake up and you like hoped it was a dream?
Yes.
And then you're like, it wasn't.
You have to relive it almost, yes.
Yes.
So for you, in those moments, you're hearing no over and over again. Most people would have stopped at number 1.
Yeah.
A lot of people would have stopped at number 2. Majority would have stopped at number 3. You kept going. This was like years and years and years of you like hounding Sephora and QVC. And so what is it? Is it just your innate ability to get back up? Or did you have to coach yourself in your mind to say, no, you believe in this, remember your why? Like, what does it actually look like?
Both. I feel like when I look back on things, and this is what I love, it's like even if you're in a space right now in your life where you're like, this isn't where I want to be, I would just trust it, because I look back at like when I was a news anchor. I would get emails that were so mean, like, are you pregnant? Are you, right? I had a news director at one of my jobs that would just tear me to shreds, appearance-wise, stuff like that. And I really feel like it helped me get really strong, so that rejection started to hurt a little less, but it still hurts. But resiliency is like the most important skill, I think. I think what's tricky is going, okay, am I putting good money after bad, right? Which is like a famous saying, meaning, does every sign tell me this is a bad idea? And do I keep wasting my time and money? You know what I mean? That's the hardest thing to know, especially when you're building your business. And for me, the deciding factor for me was praying about it and realizing that I needed to keep my faith bigger than my fear, because I just felt in my gut what I was doing mattered and it was needed. I think fear kills more dreams than like almost anything else. Self-doubt and fear, I think, kills more dreams than almost anything. I was reading that famous Jay-Z quote where he says, the genius thing we did was we never gave up. And it's like, it's so true sometimes. And what's crazy is I would have saved myself so many nights of crying myself to sleep had I known what I know now, which is just that if you're doing something novel or that's different, that hasn't been done before, of course, all these people that are experts aren't going to get it right away, because it's never been done before. So there's no proof out there that tells them, oh yeah, this is a good idea, or oh yeah, this is going to succeed in your stores, or, it's never been done before. So I shouldn't have been surprised that all these people that I thought were like, they would know if, they're going to see our product and like love it right away. And the other thing I learned was, by persistence and by not letting those no's destroy every ounce of confidence I had, and every single person that told us no has now told us yes. But some of them told us no for years and many, many, many times. And here's the crazy thing, and I don't know the answer to this, but what I do know, Lisa, is had I listened to a lot of the ways they told me to change our product or change our positioning, had I listened to that, I don't think our brand would have worked. I don't think I'd be sitting here having sold it to L'Oreal, because L'Oreal has a lot of other great brands that do what's already been done really well. They're the best at it in the world. Had I not done something totally different that went against what all these other experts were saying to do, I wouldn't have created something of value that complemented their portfolio. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it's Peter Diamandis. I think he said this. The day before a breakthrough is just another dumb idea, and it's like, it's so true. Because you're getting no's a million times. You're also telling people, people are being mean. Like in my intro, I said, someone said to you, who's ever going to buy makeup from you? Yeah. So again,
that was one of the toughest things I've ever dealt with in my own head. Because what had happened was, so we had no money, as you know, as we've covered. And this investor who, he had invested in a lot of consumer product companies. So he had a big, he was the head of a big private equity firm, and a lot of companies I love were his products that he had invested in and sold. Okay. And we finally got a meeting with him, and he was super interested. So
it's someone you're super excited about. Yes. Someone you're amped about, someone you admire,
have a lot of respect for.
Yes. Okay, makes it even worse.
I know, and they loved our idea of what we were doing with our products, with our company. I'm like, this is amazing, because if they invest in us, then A, we're not gonna go bankrupt tomorrow, and B, maybe they can help us get into these retail stores. And like, I was so excited. And then I'll never forget this. In person, this guy was like a foot and a half from me, and they said, we've decided to pass on the investment. It's a no. And I said, well, can you share with me a little bit why? Because feedback's always a gift, even when we don't want to hear it. And he said, well, do you want me to be honest with you? And I said, yes. And he goes, I'm not sure if women will buy makeup from someone who looks like you, with your body and your weight, is what he said to me. And I remember looking at him and just like, while I tried to handle it with grace and just say, thank you for your feedback, I knew so strongly in my gut in that moment. So it was this combination of being hurt, really obviously hurt, but I just had this strong gut feeling that said he's wrong. Like, he's wrong. And sometimes you just need to like bust out Google and just inspire yourself. So I remember after he said that, just for myself, I would look up so many of the people I admire most, who I think are just making huge changes in the world. And I would ask myself, if they changed their body, would they do better? No. Like, if they got all skinnier, got all whatever it is, like, people that change the world, what they look like, I think is irrelevant. I think it's how they feel, it's their heart, it's their intentions. And I would just, fill myself up with stuff like that, just to get myself back to that place of confidence again. And when we finally, so here's the thing, we got to a beauty show, this big beauty show in New York City. There are 6,000 women there. And they walk the show. And what happens in the show, this is how we got on QVC, by the way. If you're a brand that's had a new product launch that year, you can pay money to go there. You get a 3-foot table and you demonstrate your product. And so we had signed up to do it. And the hope by doing this is that the 6,000 women walking and testing out all the new products, that one of them will, work for a department store and get you in there, or one of them will, or they'll vote on your product and you'll get one of the awards. And so we were there doing that, and QVC had a huge booth there. And you're supposed to stay, you're not allowed to leave your 3-foot table, but I kept like trying to sneak away to see like if there were the buyers at the QVC booth, and I'd rush back to my table. And what I didn't realize is one of the women that I'd been showing the product to was a QVC show host, and I didn't recognize her and at the time, and I don't know if I was just spacing out or what. And so I was showing her the product and like telling her how much, why it exists and why it's different and special. And she said, my name is Miss Lisa Mason. I'm a QVC show host. And I just looked at her and she goes, I want you to know, I think your concealer is really special, and I think our women at home, our QVC gals, they would love this product. And I want you to know, I just went and told the buyer, I think we should have your product on. And I looked at her and tears just started streaming down my face, and I think I freaked her out. She's like, oh, sugar, I don't have any, like, she's like, oh, what did I just do?
Yeah,
she's like, I don't have any power to get your, I just want to let you know I did this, I believe in you. And I was like, thank you. And I was like, can I send you product? She's like, no, sugar, but I just want to let you know. So long story short, we got a meeting at QVC and we got a yes. But what that meant was we have 10 minutes, one airing of 10 minutes, and you either hit their sales goal or you don't come back, right? And what I know now that I didn't know at the time is you might have 10 minutes, but if you're live on the air and you're not hitting numbers, all of a sudden your clock will go from 10 to 6. And then you're like, and you can't panic, and you have to have fun, and you can't try to sell, because the second you try to sell, nothing sells.
Nothing sells.
Nothing sells. So, and it'll be at 6 minutes, and like if it's really not doing well, it cuts to 2. And what's so hard is you're live on national television, and in the back of your head, I just lost a product, or I just lost, like, it's so much pressure. Thankfully, I didn't know that part in the first airing, but what I did know was we had 10 minutes and we had to hit a sales target or never come back. And we needed to sell over 6,000 units of our concealer in that 10-minute window. And I just felt like, okay, if women can see this live on television, how it works, and they can see how it will, change their lives, I can show it live on TV. And I just felt like this is it. And then here's where this appearance stuff resurfaced, right? And for any woman out there or man who struggles with do what I look matter? Does my weight matter? Does my size matter? Do my clothes matter? It sucks when sometimes things all around us tell us they do, right? And this is a moment where I had to make a decision where everything was on the line for my business. And what had happened, Lisa, was we had met with, there's all these outside consultants, and they help a lot of people do well on television. And, they'll give you advice, like, here's how you do your demonstrations, and here's the type of models to use, and here's, what to say and not to say. And when I met with all the consultants, they all told me I needed to do this formula to work on air, which was cast only perfect skin models, all like the same age and skin tone and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, but I want to show my bright red rosacea and show how this works for me. And I want to show real women that are different ages and have different skin problems. And I want women all across the country that have never seen a model who looks like them and skin that looks like theirs. I want to show them live why I made this product. And every single consultant said that will not work. And if I want to have any chance of succeeding in my business, that I will do what they're saying, which is to do the formula, the only formula that had ever worked in beauty. And it was the most stressful, probably, moment of my whole career and decision of my whole career, because everything was on the line.
Yeah, break it down, and then how you decided to just ignore them and do your own thing, because like you said, everything's on the line. What did that process look like for you, where you said, they're experts, but I'm still not going to listen?
So I was freaking out. I flew out to QVC a week early.
I love the honesty, by the way. That's
oh my gosh. It was, and it's so funny. Because we had no money, so I took this, it was like 3 or 4 connections, because it was the cheapest way to get to Philly. I got there, I was in a rental car, and I drove to the QVC parking lot every single day for a week, and I sat there, literally trying to envision what was going to happen in that 10 minutes, almost like the way I imagine Olympic athletes envision success. And I just knew in that moment, like, I knew what I needed to do. I knew that if I went on QVC and did what everyone else had done, maybe my business would have succeeded at that time. But it wouldn't have been authentic to who I am. I'm not a makeup artist. I don't do makeup artist looks on people. It's not why I created the brand. It's not my why. So I would have been putting money and fear above the why I did this. And I just remember sitting in the parking lot and knowing, even if I try and I go out there and I show my bare face, which is the last thing I want to do on national television, showing my bright red rosacea, but it wasn't about me. It was about, I wanted to shift culture in beauty. I wanted there to be models that look like real women. I imagine real women all across the country who have forgotten that they're beautiful and have forgotten that they matter. And I realized in that moment, if I don't sell and we miss the sales goal, at least for that 10 minutes, there will be women that turn their television on and they see models, aspirational models, who I'm standing on television calling beautiful, that look like them. And I'm showing women with skin problems and issues, and I want them to know we're all in this together, like, we've all got this. But it was so scary, and I remember the camera goes live, the clock's at 10 minutes, and I remember it started counting down, and and I had this demonstration planned on my wrist, right, where I put these 2 beautiful department store concealers that are top sellers and ours, and I would bend my wrist and show they start breaking up and cracking, right, and ours doesn't, which is why it would cover my rosacea. So I had this thing planned, and I started doing it, but I was so stressed out. TV, I'm not nervous for. It was the business, the weight of everything, and my hand was like this. And I was like,
just like shaking like crazy.
And I was trying to show, and finally Lisa's like, thank you, sugar. And she shoves my hand under the podium that we're presenting from. And I remember at the 10-minute mark, literally the 10-minute mark, the sold out sign came up. And I just looked at Lisa and I just started crying. Because I was like, it was like real women had spoken. I'm so glad I listened to my gut. And I think sticking with the authenticity of our brand, even when everyone was saying it wasn't going to resonate, is why it's the only reason that we now built a $1 billion company.
I get a lot of questions from listeners who, because of the things that have happened in their past, they don't know how to trust their intuition. And I get a lot of questions about decision making and how to truly, in a situation like this, where you are burning through your entire life savings, you have left your dream job, you have gotten no after no after no after no after no. How do you stay connected to your intuition? in a situation like that?
Mhm.
What tool do you have, or what advice can you give to somebody who's having trouble hearing what the right decision is
Mhm.
in that kind of situation?
Yeah. So I think that intuition is like a muscle that we build
Mm-hmm.
over time. And I think it's a lifelong journey that, to really learning how to hear it and to trust it. And one of the greatest tools I think is to go back, think back to times in your life where maybe you had this gut feeling to do something and everyone around you said, don't do it. So you listen to them, you didn't trust yourself, and then think about what happened. Right. And then similarly, go back to a time where everyone was like, oh, no way, no way. And you're like, but I love him. I don't think he's lying. I think his phone really did break 5 times every weekend. He didn't disappear his phone. Like, right. Think about like that situation when everyone was telling you something and you didn't listen, or even your gut was telling you, right? And you didn't listen, and you think back to those times and you start to develop pattern recognition
Mm.
of how it felt in moments in your life when you trusted yourself or didn't, and what happened, and you get better attuned to what that feels like. So
What does it feel like for you
I
in both
feel
situations? Like, can you describe what it feels like for you when you're like, yep, no, that's a no? And what
yes.
does it feel like for you when you're like, I'm sticking with this?
Yeah, often it's the tiniest of feelings in my gut, right? Some people describe it as like a still small voice. I pray about it. I ask God to give me the answers and I try to live the answers.
Do you feel the answers that God gives you? Like, is that what happens for you when you do this?
Like right now, when I look at you, right?
Yeah.
Like I know you're a beautiful soul, right? I just know it. You know it. You feel it. Like I feel like you have good, like you're good. You know what I mean? It's a
Yeah.
feeling, right? And we get these feelings, but so much around us is so loud.
Hmm.
And we just learn over time. And by the way, not to go, this could be a whole other episode, but especially as women from the time we're young, we learn not to trust ourselves. We walk in to our parents fighting and we go, is everything okay? They're like, everything's great. Everything's great, right? To protect us, we start to learn to
You're like,
doubt ourselves.
baloney. Yep.
Right? But
Uh-huh.
or, especially as young girls, you learn to make decisions by consensus,
Mm.
often with your friends,
Or
and you
making other people happy.
making other people happy. People pleasing. We're rewarded for pleasing everyone else and almost ignoring what we feel. So if you're someone who's an adult right now going, I don't even know how to hear my own gut or trust myself. That's why we've been trained out of learning how to do it, right? So it takes intentionality and really deciding, oh, you know what? I'm going to put in some time, even if it's 5 minutes a day, just to thinking about moments in my life where I trusted myself, where I didn't. And if you don't remember any of them, start now.
You know what you just inspired me to think about?
Hmm.
I don't even know if it's possible to do this, but imagine if you could go through the rest of today and only make decisions that align with what you truly want. If you
Yes.
don't want to go to that party tonight, don't go. If a friend asks you something and you feel obligated out of guilt to lend them that thing, don't actually lend them the thing.
Yeah.
Eat what you want to eat tonight for dinner. Don't just go to wherever your friends want to go. Like, I think that would be a real eye-opening experiment if you were to do that.
And you start building that muscle, right? And the more you do that, some people don't even pay attention to what they actually want to eat for dinner. They're just like, what sounds good to everyone? But to your point, when you start paying
Hmm.
attention, then you also start building that knowing of hearing your own knowing.
Do you think it's possible to discover your unique purpose in life if you are not connected and listening to your intention and intuition, I mean?
And your own intuition. Here's how I think it's way more likely and you're going to actually discover more than one purpose
Mm.
often if you're really tuned in to your intuition and you're intentional about it. But what I'll say for someone who feels like they can't hear their gut but they still want to find their purpose, a friend of mine, Rory Vaden, says that you're best positioned to serve the person you once were, right? Trent Shelton, our friend, says one day the things you're going through right now will be the things you made it through.
Yeah.
And what I would say to someone listening right now is look at something in the past that has broken your heart, that has caused you grief, that has been something that you care deeply about, whether it's positive or negative, that you've gone through, something you care deeply about, or maybe pain you've gone through, something you have made it through. I believe often when we go through the hardest times in our life,
Yep.
it's for one of two reasons.
What are they?
It is to either equip us with the strength we need to carry the weight of our success that's to come, to carry the weight of our purpose that's to come, or we've gone through these horrible, unspeakable times, things we would never want to happen to us again in our life, because we're actually going to get our greatest source of fulfillment and purpose by one day helping someone else who's going through them. And
I love that saying that you're best equipped to help the person you used to be.
yeah,
Part 2 is called Unlearning. Part 2 is called Unlearning. And unlearning, this is all about the lies that lead to self-doubt and then the truths that wake up worthiness. This is a whole section about the lies, y'all. How many? Share with me in the comments and wherever you're posting from if you have believed some of the lies that cause self-doubt. Who in this room has believed some of the lies? Me. Too long. We have believed the lies for too long that lead to self-doubt, and it's so important to embrace the truths and learn the truths that wake up worthiness. So, section 2, unlearning. Unlearning the lies that lead to self-doubt, waking up the truths, the truths that wake up worthiness. Okay, so chapter 5, here's what it's called, y'all. You ready? Don't wait on your weight. Don't wait on your weight. The lie, my weight impacts my worth. Let me just be really clear, okay? This chapter has nothing to do with weight. It's not about what your weight is whatsoever, whatever it might be. This chapter is about waiting on your weight to live your life. I have missed out on so many moments in my life because I let my weight determine my worth. I've skipped parties and events. I've missed out on dates. Some were hot. I've missed out on coffees, on wearing a swimsuit and splashing in the sun. And what's wild is when you look at research, studies show 89% of girls and women will opt out of meaningful interactions when they don't like how they look. Y'all, the time for change has come. Don't wait on your weight to live your best life, to launch the business, to write the book, to speak on stage, to tell the person you want to be more than friends. And don't wait on your weight to know that you are worthy. All right, that's chapter 5. That is chapter 5. Chapter 6, the lie. I should only be seen when I'm happy. I should only be seen when I'm happy. So many of us put pressure on ourselves to show up with a giant smile and a shirt that says good vibes only, but then we hide how we're really feeling and we think that we're unworthy of sharing our true feelings with others. Every time that we do this, we are telling ourselves we're unworthy of being who we truly are. So this is a chapter about unlearn. I heard a lot of in there. This is a chapter about unlearning that lie and embracing the power of true, authentic connection. All right, chapter 7, the lie, I don't deserve better. If you've ever stayed in an unhealthy relationship or a friendship with a friend that doesn't truly value you like you deserve or like you value them, or you keep not setting that boundary with that family member, or maybe you've let people mistreat you because you fear being alone, this is a chapter about overcoming the lie that you don't deserve better. Chapter 8. So, the lie, I don't have anything special to offer. If you have ever dealt with imposter syndrome, or like your ideas and gifts and talents have already been done better by other people you're going to love chapter 8. Chapter 9 is all about the lie that I need to please them to love me. If you are a people pleaser, this chapter is for you. It's all about how people pleasing impacts your self-worth, right? So when you believe the lie that you need to please others in order to be loved, you're going to love this chapter because it teaches you how to unlearn that lie. And so often when we're people pleasing for others, we're betraying ourselves. So this is a really powerful one. Chapter 10. Okay. The lie, if I stand out, I'll get kicked out. Have you ever felt that way? Have you ever felt like if I stand out, I'll be kicked out? And when at our core, we all crave love and belonging, this could be a real fear and a real lie that we believe. So if you're somebody who dims your light, this chapter is for you. Chapter 11, the lie, I'm an imposter and not enough on my own. If you feel like you need someone else to rescue you or complete you, whether it's a romantic partner or even a mentor, this is a chapter that dives deep into the lie that you are not whole on your own and as you are. Okay, chapter 12, the lie. If I'm me, I won't be loved. This chapter dives into the power of embracing and loving who you authentically are and how, here's the thing, y'all, okay? Take note of this, okay? You can only ever achieve the depth of love and intimacy with others as the depth of love you have for yourself. So many of us are like, what's missing in my friendships? They don't feel fulfilling, or what's missing with my partnership? And yes, of course, we all have lots of other issues. Well, I'll speak for myself. A lot of us have lots of other issues. But this is so big, y'all, because so many people go their entire lives and never realize this, that the depth of love and connection you can have with another person can only ever be as deep as the depth of love and connection you have with yourself. And that's what this chapter is all about. Chapter 13, the lie, labels are permanent. If you have let something that someone else said about you stick like a label, and maybe it's something that you believed about yourself, you could do it on your own too. We all give ourselves labels that's somehow become this like heavy label, right? Maybe it's a label that says hurtful words like failure or unattractive or unqualified or uncool or bad mom, right? And you've been carrying around that label like a lead weight, thinking it's permanent. Maybe you're carrying around I carried around a lot of labels most of my life that weighed me down, right? This chapter is going to be so transformative and impactful for you because labels are not permanent. They've all got this light removable adhesive, just like Post-it notes do, right? And when you remove these labels, when you unlearn the lie of these labels and you replace them and you learn how to undo them, rip them off, right? It can literally transform your self-worth. It's a tool that's been life-changing for me, and I'm so excited to go through this with you and experience this journey with you. So, okay, part three of Worthy, transforming. Part 3 of Worthy is transforming. This is all about the journey of you, about building unshakable self-worth and unconditional self-love. And just think about that for a moment, unconditional self-love. Y'all, almost all of us love ourselves conditionally. If I do this right, then I'll love myself. If I achieve this much, then all the things. We say we love unconditionally other people, but do we actually love ourselves unconditionally? For most of us, the answer is no. This is about unconditional self-love. It's transformative. So chapter 14, self-worth is the multiplier. Okay, just gonna give you a little warning. We didn't come here to waste some time. Worthy is not here to play small. In chapter 14, self-worth is the multiplier, okay? It's packed with tactical tools. There's equations and charts. I don't want you to freak out, but there are some. But I promise you, like, even if you're not a math person, even if you're not an equation and chart person, like, I didn't build this or write this book, you know, to play small. Like, this is my life's greatest work. It's been the most impactful thing in my entire life. And so I'm giving you everything I got, including some equations and charts, because this chapter is all about cracking the code of fulfillment in your life. Okay, chapter 15. Do you see you? Let me ask you this question. When is the last time you truly saw yourself and truly connected with yourself? Your depth of connection with others, right? We shared a little bit earlier, can only ever be as deep as your depth of connection with yourself. This chapter is about the science and the art of how to do that. So it's gonna be a thing. Okay, chapter 16. Know your why, then fly, girl, fly. This chapter is about the power of identifying your why for your worthiness journey and why it matters so much. Chapter 17 is circle or cage. It is called circle or cage. And here's the thing. I want you to think about your family and your friends in your life right now, okay? Your close family, this is gonna be a real personal question, but let's go there. Your close family and your close friends in your life right now, do they feel like a circle or do they feel more like a cage? This chapter is deep and it's powerful, and we're gonna go into building a strong inner circle and a strong outer circle, how to do that, and then what to do if you know someone in your life who doesn't deserve to be in either, but how to navigate that, right? If it's a friend or family member who you love them, you're not gonna like peace out or anything like that. You love them, but you can feel more like you're in a cage than in a circle when you're around them, right? So this is gonna dive deep into circles and cages and how to build your inner circle, your outer circle, how to handle it when someone shouldn't be in either, but you still wanna love them. And here's the thing, your circle might be 2 people. It might be, 5 people. Just make sure they're the right people. And this chapter is about how to do that. Chapter 18, overexposed, underdeveloped. Overexposed and underdeveloped. This is a chapter about the real, raw, candid truth about how to not just gain, but also sustain all of the successes in your life, in all aspects of your life, and also how to not only gain, but sustain strong self-worth. Okay, chapter 19, transformations. If you're in a season of transition in your life right now, or maybe you're about to embark on one, whether it's a transition of a new chapter, or maybe a dream in your career, maybe it's you're in a transition of wanting to attract and build friendships or relationships in your life, or maybe it's just an evolution of who you are. Chapter 19 on transformations is going to fill your soul. Okay, the final part of the book, so excited, y'all. The final part of the book is called Knowing. Knowing. You are worthy, it's in you, it is you. Chapter 20 is called Your Ticket to the Moon. This is all about how to build your intuition and build the habit of taking that next right step in life, even if you don't have all the answers, even if you don't feel ready, even if things aren't perfect. This is about getting unstuck, building intuition, and taking action in your life. Chapter 21, Who Are You Really Doubting? That's the name of the chapter. Who are you really doubting? And this is a chapter all about how your faith, no matter what you believe in, how your faith can impact your worthiness, and how if you believe what you say you believe, it can act as one of the most powerful tools in building self-worth. Okay, chapter 22 is called Solos. Chapter 22 is called Solos. And in this chapter, it opens with the quote, "There are no mistakes in dance class, only solos." So often in life, we're trying to stay in line to make sure that we're doing the right move and do it all perfectly, and we think a misstep is bad or wrong. But there are no mistakes in dance class, and there are no mistakes in life, only solos. Solos are where ideas are birthed. Solos is where your authenticity shines. Solos taste like truth and they feel like freedom. It's in the solos that your true beauty shines. And even if you feel like you've made, so many mistakes, or you've had so many setbacks, or you're going on a different path in life than you had planned or than others expected of you, there are no mistakes in dance class, only solos. You're not a bad dancer. When it comes to life, that's actually impossible. Maybe you're just born to do solos.
We're going to be talking about how do you believe in yourself to transform your life, and why self-worth specifically is so important to your personal goals, your business goals, your entire life. Maybe we could start, Jamie, with defining the difference between self-confidence and self-worth.
Woo! That one question, that is like the power question. I'm so excited you asked that, because for anybody listening to us, watching us right now, this one thing will literally change like your entire life. And, our self-worth is our ceiling. Like our self-worth is our ceiling in every area of our life, our business, our relationships, our goals and dreams. A lot of people think, oh, I just need to get more skill set or more experience or more, confidence, which is different. And all those things are important. But underneath it all, if you don't believe you are worthy of the thing, it will not come. And so, in life, like we don't become what we want, we become what we believe we're worthy of. And so self-worth is literally the one thing that's like the foundation of all of it, that when you learn to build it, can impact your business, your goals, your dreams, what you believe is possible for yourself. So I'm so excited. So, okay. And to your question, self-confidence, while it is so important and so valuable, is actually completely different from self-worth. And most of us, I'll just speak for myself, most of my life, I did not realize that I was pursuing all of these things that built self-confidence, but arriving at them, not understanding why I still didn't feel like I was enough, or I still felt like something was missing. And I thought the solution was to work harder and achieve more and level up to the next level. And all of that is an important part of growth and building confidence. But none of it builds self-worth, which is so important because our self-worth is our ceiling. Okay, so let me break it down. I'm really excited about this. So self-confidence, because this is something right now that every single person, every student, every business leader crushing it, does not matter where you're at in your life. When you understand this one thing, it can completely transform your life, like right now. It's a big thing. So, okay, just to kind of get granular for a minute. So self-confidence, while it's internal, it is so much based on the external. So your self-confidence is how you assess your own skills and abilities, your willingness to try and to go for it, how much of the world's definition of success you feel you have, and how you feel you stack up and compare and measure to others. If you're winning or losing at any moment in time, the studies show the boxer who wins the fight is automatically 30% more confident. Our confidence is fragile. It fluctuates. It rises and falls. Our self-worth, on the other hand, is the deep internal knowing and belief that you are worthy of love and belonging exactly as you are, not as your past or past mistakes or failures, not as your successes and what's happening all around on the outside, but separate from all of that, just exactly as you are, you're fully enough, worthy of love and belonging. And two big things on this. A lot of people worry, okay, let me back up. Self-confidence, okay? Every ad that we see growing up and on television and all the things that well-intended family members often say, where they're like, how's your job? How's your kids? We learn to believe once I have great answers to those things, then I should feel
enough and like I've made it. We learn through ads that like, oh my gosh, if I get that dream car one day, or the 6-pack abs, or that certain level in my bank account, or the certain job title, then I'm going to finally feel fulfillment and enough. And just to ask everyone who is, listening with us right now and watching us right now, imagine, like, so many of us are achievers, and especially part of your community, we want to be limitless and all the things, which is so important on our journey to fulfillment. And another piece of that is the self-worth. And so for a lot of us, right, if you think about, if you've ever had a big goal or a dream or a hope and you thought, one day when I finally get that thing, like then I'm going to feel fulfilled and happy. And for some of us, it may be a certain level in our business, or it might be finally finding a life partner or getting married and having kids, or, a fitness goal. It could be anything. And then a lot of us, we dream like, oh my gosh, one day when I get that job title or that, whatever it might be. And we work really, really hard, often for years. And then when you finally get that thing that we thought would make us happy and fulfilled, a lot of us arrive at that thing and we're happy for a while. But then before we realize it, we're like, okay, but why am I back to feeling like something's missing, or like this isn't enough, or like I'm not enough? And our answer to that is usually, I just got to work harder. I got to achieve more, get the next thing. And it becomes this never ending cycle where we achieve a lot and we grow a lot and we build a lot of confidence along the way, which is really important. But if we don't have underlying self-worth, we always arrive at those things feeling empty, feeling like something's missing, and just continuing to hustle harder and harder and harder. And it just goes on forever, because all of those achievements will build self-confidence, but none build self-worth. And when it comes to self-worth, a lot of people think, well, wait a minute, especially ambitious people. They're like, if I believe I'm enough just as I am, am I going to lose my ambition? Am I going to lose my edge? And it's like, oh no, when you fully believe you're enough as you are, like I have found, you get more ambitious, because you're now, like, oh, if I go for this thing and fail and fall flat on my face, like it might shake my confidence for a minute, but it cannot touch my self-worth. Like who I am, you become more fearless. And so knowing the difference between the two is huge. And there's a lot of great resources out there on self-confidence and on building it, which is, again, so valuable and important, but it is so different from self-worth. And Jim, maybe a lot of people like listening with us can relate to this, but I believed for the longest time that if I achieved enough, I would finally feel enough and I'd finally feel fulfilled. And after spending decades of my life achieving a whole bunch of stuff and arriving at it, still going, why does it feel like something's missing? Like this is never enough. And learning like, oh, there's a massive difference between self-worth and self-confidence. And self-worth challenges in our lives show up in 3 ways. So I can dive into that if you want me to, for anyone listening, wondering like, well, wait a minute. Okay, this is a new concept. And now do I have issues with self-worth? It really can show up 3 ways in our life.
Yeah. Before we get into the 3 ways, there's a quote in here, and this is kind of what you just said was a mic drop. It's something to the tune of, in life, you don't soar to the level of your hopes and your dreams. You stay stuck at the level of your self-worth. Whether it's in your relationships, your careers, your ambitions, you don't rise to what you believe is possible. You fall to what you believe you're worthy of.
Talk about some of the struggles that you've had with anxiety, with self-doubt. We've all been there. The biggest enemy is between our ears, imposter syndrome. I still struggle with that. I don't think it ever goes away. You talk about body doubt and God doubt. I have never heard God doubt though. What is that?
Yeah, I think my whole journey really is figuring all of that out. And I think, for me and a lot of people, when I built It Cosmetics, right, we started in our living room, and my whole journey was just filled with no's. Sometimes you'll see a founder launch an idea or a product or whatever, and it will get hot right away. And that wasn't my experience. My journey was, and by the way, to answer your question, figuring out how to overcome not just self-doubt
and body doubt, but God doubt was critical in my journey of starting with literally no money in my living room, building $1 billion company. Because it was really a journey of so much rejection and hearing so many no's along the way, and learning how to, well, first of all, I prayed like crazy, but I also doubted God exists a lot of my life. And I really learned in my journey how to turn down the noise and the volume on self-doubt and other people's opinions. For me, when I pray and I just get this gut feeling, like I think I've never heard God talk, but for me, in my own personal faith, I believe, God talks to me through my intuition. I think when I get a really strong gut feeling, I've learned to trust it. And for me, it's really been a big journey of keeping my faith bigger than my fear. I go there, like in my new book, Believe It, I go there. When I built a company of over 1,000 employees, you have to be so professional and respectful. And I intentionally hired teams of every different faith, of no faith, I believe that not just our teams, but our boardrooms should look like our customers do. And our customers at Cosmetics are every person, every age and shape and skin tone and gender identity and faith and background. And so I really intentionally hired a team that way. And so my personal faith wasn't something I talked openly about very much in the whole journey. And so, but I think for me, it's like the espresso inside the latte. It's like, if you don't have it, it's not the same in my journey. So I talk about that really openly a lot, Nicole. And I think that I really think it's important we share like the real stories behind the stories if we're ever going to really grow together. And, I was raised going to church every Sunday, but I didn't connect with faith. I would just sit through church and scan the pews looking for cute boys, like counting down the minutes until the sermon was over. And so most of my life while I was in a family that had faith, I would pray, but the truth is I would kind of like doubt that God was real. And one of the stories I talk about in the book is the journey of God doubt. And there was a moment in my life where I was having a really tough time. It was actually in news. I was in news at the time. And it was the first time in my life I was dealing with anxiety and all these things. And anyways, a therapist said to me when I was saying to her, I don't even know if God's real. I'm doubting he exists. I'd found out I was adopted. So I was like, I don't know where I come from. And anyways, long story short, she said to me, well, what makes you think God can't handle your doubt? And I'm like, what do you mean? And she goes, tell him you doubt him and ask him to prove you wrong. And I was like, okay. So this started like a decade-long journey of every time I'd be praying for a friend's health or something. And at the end I would say, and by the way, God, like literally in the middle of my prayer, like silently, but I'd be like, I'm doubting you exist. If you could please prove me wrong, beyond a shadow of a doubt, I'd be so grateful. Thank you. Amen. And I share in the book just some of the crazy, crazy, crazy stories of what happened. And some of them even with investors, potential investors, with retailers who had said no to our product for so many years, like calling me out of the blue saying, I don't know why, but I was praying last night and I got this feeling that you're supposed to be in our store. And it'd be like the weirdest conversation. So anyways, I share a lot of that stuff in the book that I've never shared before because I think these are real conversations. A lot of times, you look on social media, you see founders, entrepreneurs, you can read business tips all day long. But at the end of the day, as you mentioned in the beginning of this, I really believe for every one of us, every founder listening right now, every person who's going to be part of this or watch the replay, us living up to our potential, us stepping into our calling, us becoming the person we're born to be. It's not business tips you can find anywhere. It's about figuring out the game in our own head of overcoming that self-doubt and all the other forms of doubt in our life in order to truly become the person we're born to be.
It's about telling that mean girl or that mean guy inside your head to take several seats. You call it an inner critic. Do you think she ever really goes away?
No, I think that inner critic
can get so loud. And I think that so often, and especially as women, right, you look at a lot of the research out there that shows that we'll often make decisions by consensus, right? Like you'll see, even it's from the time we're little kids, you'll ask an opinion and we do this still as adults, ask an opinion, and typically women will go, oh, and they'll take a survey, friends or family, and then we have our own inner critic. And what I think happens to a lot of us is we start to confuse that inner critic or that inner self-doubt or other people's opinions with our own truth, with our own knowing that we all have. I believe we all have a knowing. And I believe our gut is always more stronger than anyone else's advice. But I think what happens so often is that inner critic gets so loud, and we don't learn how to literally, when I hear my own inner critic, and I don't think it ever goes away, I imagine myself turning down the volume and replacing thoughts with something that I know is true, or that I just want to decide is true anyway. And that's more, more empowering. And I think, I started at cosmetics in our living room, close to no money. And I poured every penny I had into the business. And I thought, okay, if we can create just a great product that really works, it's just going to sell. And then as so many founders have also shared this experience, I was like, oh, it's not that easy. You can have an amazing product. And, I really did a lot of work on, and I talk about this and believe it a lot, about not just figuring out the why for my brand, but peeling back the layers on it, going really, really deep to the why beneath the why that helps, because that's what really gives you the strength to keep going when you get knocked down. And I had done all those things, but what I wasn't ready for was, or I guess I should say, wasn't ready that was going to happen, was just how much rejection would happen along the way. And when people tell us no, or a lot of other words, right? Like when people literally look us in the eye and say, like, you're not the right fit for us or our customers, you're not right for our stores. It's not just a no right now. It's just, it's a real no. Like you're not the right. And you just hear people or change who you are to fit in, or change your packaging, or change this or change that. I think often when we get rejection, it can actually be helpful. Like there's parts of it, there's other people's advice, experts' advice that could be really helpful in forms of rejection. But if we don't learn how to get still and hear, turn down our own inner critic, turn down the part of us that wants to replay the rejection over and over, if we don't learn how to get still and turn down the volume on that and really check in with our gut and go, okay, this retailer just told me change my packaging to this, or that this isn't right, or whatever. Does that feel right to me? Does that advice feel right to me? Right? I'm telling you, like, had I not learned to do that, I would have never built $1 billion company, because on the journey of building at cosmetics, the first 3 years were hundreds and hundreds of no's. Like all of the retailers I love and shop at my whole life. And like, I would save my tip money as a waitress at Denny's to like buy a MAC lipstick or Lancome eyeliner from these beautiful stores. I love these stores. And they were all telling me no, that I needed to change who I was, or change our packaging, or our packaging was too accessible. It needed to be way high, way more luxurious, or I was using real people as models. And, and at the time when I launched at cosmetics, it wasn't really being done. And I had a lot of retailers say, people will not buy makeup from images that look like them. Like they need, and they would explain this to me in detail. They would say things to me like, you need to have an unattainable image of beauty that someone can never hope to achieve for them to buy your product. And I'm like, okay, or maybe people are sick and tired of seeing people that don't look like them, because for me, I have rosacea, bright red, bumpy everywhere on my cheeks and my nose and my forehead. And I couldn't find makeup that worked for me, right? My whole company started with a problem I didn't know how to solve. And I realized, oh, I've never seen any models, but, selling makeup that look like me, that have skin challenges. And then I would try all the products and they wouldn't work. And so I just kind of like had this gut feeling,
well, if I, am this age or size or skin tone, or have the skin challenge or whatever it is, and I don't see someone who is showing me the product works for them, how do I know it works for me? It was just intuitive to me, but it wasn't being done. And they all told me, like, if you want to get in our stores, here's what you need to do. And those are the moments, Nicole, that define our lives, when our gut tells us one thing, but like in my case, I had no money. I was, if we were going to, like, for 3 years, I didn't know how we were going to stay in business. Right. And I made the decision to listen to my gut and to not change what it was telling me about what to do with our brand. And that is, I believe, like, critical to ever building anything that lasts or anything that matters. When you change who you are authentically, and even when it comes to your product or your positioning or, your vision, when you start changing that because you want to get into a store or get onto someone's site who's huge, or, whatever it is, it's a short-term pop in revenue, and it feels good for a minute, but long-term, I think it's one of the biggest reasons why tens of thousands of founders don't make it, because they start getting distracted by what everyone else tells them is right for their brand, or is hot, or is going to make them money. And they dilute their own authentic secret sauce. And at the end of the day, you can't fake authenticity, and customers are smart and they know it. And over time, it never works when you go against what you authentically know for your brand.
Jamie, you got a magazine shoot today, you were saying. Tell us about what's going on over there.
Yeah, it's the book, my first ever book, Believe It, is launching in just under 5 weeks. We're under 5 weeks away. So I feel like I'm going to blink and it's going to be here. And so it's probably the most vulnerable thing I've ever done, where I just literally pour everything I have and all the things I wish I knew. It would have saved me a million nights crying myself to sleep, and the whole journey of starting in my living room and facing rejection for 3 years straight, solid, and building at cosmetics. And so now the 5 week mark, all the press starts that it comes out when the book launches. So today is a magazine shoot all day long. And I'll share more soon. But, I was thinking about this, and actually, being MLK Day today, this morning I was in hair, getting ready. I haven't done makeup yet, in hair, and I was watching Dr. Martin Luther King's speeches, some of them, right, which I've done my whole life. And I watched one this morning that's all about growing, actually. It's all about, like, keeping it moving. And he talked a lot about your life's blueprint. And he was using these words long before so many other people were using them, right? And he talked about your life's blueprint, about how no one else can tell you you're not worthy. And when I was thinking about this, his words, I was kind of having this big aha moment just to share with everyone in the Growth Day community this morning, in case you go through this too. But, like, sometimes it's ourself that's the one telling ourselves we're not worthy. And on a
most
day,
of the time, probably.
Most of the time, yeah.
Most of the time. And you're making up stories about other people thinking you're not worthy.
Yes.
So either you're telling yourself, oh, I'm not worthy, or you're thinking they don't think I'm worthy. And either way, it's a story that's probably, making you feel worse than you really need to.
Exactly. And, on this day, right, I have this big magazine shoot all day. They want 6 different looks, all these things. First of all, I have to fight in my own head the whole imposter syndrome, which is like, how is a girl like me, who is a waitress at Denny's, all these things, doing 6 looks? How do we even figure out what looks are? That's the first thing. Like fashion looks, right? You see me, I love some sweats. I love some comfy sweats, right? So I'm like, okay, 6 looks today.
Does 6 looks mean 6 outfits? Mm-hmm. Or does that? Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Because when I do magazine shoots, they usually, like, they show up with stuff and they put it on. I wander around, and that's about it. I'm really. And that's about it. I'm really. I'm the worst. I don't. I don't do press. I decided very early on I didn't want to be in the PR land. So very rarely do I do press. And every time I do, I realize why I don't. It's so exhausting. I really admire people who can do days of press and they do it consistently. We take for granted. It's really exhausting. People are bossing you around all day. You're just kind of wondering when you get to sit down or get to eat.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's a full schedule. Everyone wants to be famous, or they want days of magazine shoots and all that. And then they do their first like PR junket in New York, and you do like 16 shows in a day. At the end, it's a privilege and a joy, and it's fun. And at the same time, it's work. Like you had to get up, you got what, 5 o'clock today just to prepare and get hair and makeup and everything else getting ready?
Yeah, we had hair at 5, had to get up at 4 to shower, all that stuff. Got to. And here's the thing is like, what a blessing, what a gift that I get to spread the word about the book. Like that's what really drives me, right? But what I'm realizing, and Brendan, listening to MLK's speech this morning, Dr. Martin Luther King's speech, talking about telling ourselves we're not worthy, or having other people tell you you're not worthy, exactly what you said. This is a day that the old me, the me that for decades has done lots of different things, and I'm working still, as you know, I'm a lifetime student, still working to grow out of this. The old me for sure would have let my inner critic take over all day and just powered through, hoping like, does this outfit fit? Are they thinking I really should be in this shoot? Are they regretting doing a story on all those things we tell ourselves, right? It doesn't have to be a magazine shoot. It could just be hopping on Zoom for something at work, or, how many times, that we get an invite to a high school reunion. Brendan, I don't know if you'll relate to this, but you coach so many people that I think you'll understand this at such a deep level. We get an invite to a high school reunion or something like that. So many of us, the first thing we think of is, oh, when I show up, how much weight have I gained? How much, all these things, right? To the point where we don't even enjoy it.
Yes.
And I remember a quote. Will you remind us all, if you remember it? There's a quote you said, and I saved it because I look at it often, and it said something about, I'll paraphrase, and then maybe you'll remember it exactly, but you can accomplish all these things, and the worst thing that could possibly happen is you get to the end of your life and you look back and you're like, I forgot to enjoy it.
Forgot to enjoy it. Yes,
that's
the worst. Imagine looking in the mirror. You're 80, 90, 100 years old, and you had longevity, but you look in the mirror and you just go, you never felt it. You never enjoyed it. You never took the time to be there. And I also think, coming back to your high school reunion idea, or the magazine shoot, or all of you who are walking in to do, networking in a Zoom room, or when we come back to regular life and we're hanging out with people here again. I love this saying. It's not from me. I can't remember who said it, but I love it. Love it. There's two kinds of people in the world. One walks into the room and goes, "Here I am." And the other person walks in the room and goes, "Oh, there you are." And they're excited to see you. They're excited to acknowledge you, to validate you, to welcome you, to make sure that you feel at home. Yeah. And those are the people that we want to be in our lives. Those are that's being the role model, but it's also being, less ego driven. Instead of being so concerned, what do I look like? Who am I like? What's going on here? I've always, the way I got over myself, because everyone still knows and grow, I'm a dork. I love geeking out on personal development. I love books. I love to write. I'm more of even though I teach and I'm, millions and millions of hours of video by now, I generally mostly enjoy being alone, dorking out about my ideas, drawing up, creating ideas and charts and everything everywhere. And so when I go to talk with people, often I want to share that with them. And I have all these ideas. And I know there's lots of people, ideas. I just want to talk ideas. But the best thing I ever did to get over myself and be comfortable with other people is instead ask them about their ideas. Ask about, if you walk into your high school networking, gym and you walk in, instead be like, hey, ask people, hey, how you doing? Hey, what do you think of all this? Yeah. One of my favorite questions, what do you think of all this? Oh, I love the punch bowl, or look at this, or hey, this is happening. I love that we're together. Hey, how you been? Just acknowledging and appreciating other people is such a lost art because we tend to have agendas, because we tend to want to project something. And here's the number one thing. Most people really believe the idea they only have 10 seconds to make a first impression, or they only have 30 seconds to say it right. And I'm like, nothing in life that matters is judged in 30 seconds. In other words, give yourself time to build a relationship. Give yourself time to enjoy that moment. It seems like, well, you have 7 minutes on that major show. I'm like, there's going to be 100 other shows in your future. Some shows you're going to do are an hour-long podcast. Some shows you're going to do are in person. And so I'm just here to say, enjoy it, but also make it about other people. Ask them, validate them, and you'll feel better.
You know, of course, when we talked about the other day about reading customer letters on QVC, right? It was a whole thing in the green room of putting into practice the idea that I think exactly to your point, it's like, oh, this isn't about me. It's about something so much bigger, right? And I think that's huge. And I was going to ask you actually, because I think this lifelong journey for so many people of overcoming our inner critic, right? And even going to a whole new, transcending the whole new thing and going, oh, who's my inner champion? Can I wake that person up, right? Can I wake up my inner champion? And so many of us are like, oh, you know, inner champion, maybe you haven't heard your inner champion ever, or in a long time. And so, you know, Brendan, coaching millions of people like you have, I'm so fascinated to hear for you, like if you also, or I should say, because I think this is universal, I think this happens to everyone, but when you're in a moment where you're doing something and all of a sudden that inner critic, you hear that inner critic, right? How do you turn down the volume on that? What do you do to go to silence your inner critic or handle your inner critic or overcome your inner critic and then swap it to your inner champion? Or what are your tools? Because I feel like no matter what we're doing in life, where we're at in life, what our situation is inside our own family, inside our jobs, inside our hopes and dreams, it's just this, it's the biggest obstacle, I think, for so many of us.
Yeah, I think one, you have to realize that replacing the inner critic in the moment is super hard. And so you have to think of everything you're doing is like, there's the pre-work, there's the actual in the moment flow work, and then there's the post work. The pre-work is, okay, before the inner critic has to start, you start your morning by tapping into your authentic self, meditating, feeling, thinking about who you are, what's important to you, your morning routine of intention setting, your morning routine of purpose statements, your morning routine of filling your head with good thoughts, your morning routine of acknowledging your strength to show up another day, your day of gratitude for appreciating that you have these opportunities. Meaning you got to start the day, the growth day starts with self-talk. And the self-talk, you have to condition the positive voice inside your inner champion. You have to amplify that, turn it up, and talk to it every morning and every day if you ever want that to be louder than the critic. What most people do is they bumble through the day, a doubt comes up, they hear it, they go, is that true? They start amplifying that thing because there's no other voices. Your job is to find your authentic voice, your acknowledging, aware, compassionate, loving self voice. Give that so much volume so many times that's just, hey, that station's louder. That station is louder because you're on that station more. So now when the other one starts interfering and coming in, you can go, oh, what is it saying here? And it's almost always, the inner critic is really a doubtful voice. It's almost always a doubtful voice. I doubt my capability. I doubt who I am. I doubt I'm capable. I'm worthy. I doubt myself. And doubt doesn't mean stop or shut down. Doubt means, oh, this is a signal to be more present and intentional. Oh, this isn't to question myself and my capabilities. It's going, oh, hey, I don't know if I can do this. Let me pay attention. Doubt's a great signal to pay attention and to engage the best of who we are. It's like, oh, those butterflies, that's saying, oh, let's align here. Let's get focused here. Let's bring some attention to this. So first, don't think that voice will ever go away. It's going to be there. It's always going to pop up. But don't think it's a negative thing telling you you're terrible. It's saying pay attention. And then also up the station on that authentic, acknowledging, loving self-talk each day, the affirmative side of who you are. Listen to that so often and give yourself that blessing so often, because some of you, it's not going to be your spouse who's going to acknowledge you or validate you. So, some of you, it's not going to be your parents or your sister, your brothers, or the people in your industry. They're all going to doubt you or judge you or push you. So you've got to affirm yourself. You've got to tap into that truth, that knowing, that beauty, that soul, that spirit, that authenticity that says, why? I do deserve to have a good day today. I do have good intentions for today. Let me listen to that part of me more often. And that conditioning of positive, affirming self-talk starts becoming a part of real confidence, right? Conditioned self-talk becomes confident capability.
So good. You know, I'm looking at so many of your comments right now, and so many people are saying this is so timely. I needed to hear this right now because, you know, one of the things I love about this is when we talk about even conditioning and starting our day that way with positive self-talk. I hope the Growth Day Morning Show is a big part of that, of just hearing that, you know, inspiration, like all of us coming together and growing. But, you know, one person also, this Sarah just commented that, that, you know, the inner critic always comes back, right? And you're saying, yeah, it always comes back. And here's the thing is, I feel like our inner critic can get so loud. And I feel like so many of us know when we're hearing it, when we're hearing that inner critic, A, we would never say those things to another human being. And B, when we're saying them about ourselves, we kind of still know, in big part, we know they're not true, but but somehow we still, it's so easy to believe it. It's easy to know we're made for more. We're created for more. We have more to give, more to offer, more to serve, more inside of us than we're expressing or giving or living right now. And yet it's so easy to still doubt it anyways, right?
What if the inner critic was an inner guide? And the inner critic was just saying to you, hey, right now, you've got your station turned on to me, the inner critic, the, you know, the low station, the self-doubt station.
Yeah.
And you, instead of going, oh, that critic's so scary, and let me find all the reasons to criticize me, it's like, oh, the inner critic is actually calling you to summon the better part of you. It's saying, hey, you're listening to the lowly insecurities right now. Let me amplify those insecurities so you're aware that you're listening to them, dummy. What you need to do right now is switch to the other station. I am guiding you with all this blaring noise to summon a higher part of you. The inner critic is summoning the higher part of you, not shutting you down. It's summoning you. It's not going to go away. There's always going to be that part of you going, hey, dummy, you're smarter, you're better. Hey, let me judge you just enough that you get edgy and you go, no, I'm better than this, and you show up. It's egging you on to show up better, not shut down. As soon as you get that, oh, I'm being egged up like a good friend. Because listen, the inner critic is you.
Yeah.
And that's a good friend to you saying, hey, I'm going to bug you just enough. I'm going to shame you just enough. I'm going to doubt you just enough until you finally go, F no, let's go. I'm going to try to piss you off. That's what the inner critic is going to do. They're there to amplify you to go, no, I am better than this. It is actually summoning strength. And if you can hear that, instead of being diminished, be called. When crisis doesn't diminish you, when conflict doesn't diminish you, when fear doesn't diminish you, but rather you sense it as a calling to rise to something, to a higher standard, to serve. This is why today we celebrate Martin Luther King. Dr. Martin Luther King had the same challenges so many people did. What he did was he said, I have a dream. I'm going to rise up. I'm going to learn to do all of these things that he didn't know how to do, to lead an incredible movement that we still celebrate today. You have to think about it, like, whoa, that's 60 years later. We're still celebrating this person. Why? Because all those calls, all those judgments, all that hate, he said, I'm not going to let the darkness shut me down, because it is only light and love that will lift us up. So I'm going to amplify those. You can hit me with all the hate you want, but I'm going to activate love. That's the change. When it's so not a diminishment, but a calling to rise above it, that's a mindset shift that now helps us activate. I hope that helps everybody.
So good, you guys. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So many comments. So many comments.
I appreciate each of you. And thank you for cheering me and Jamie on in this Growth Day morning show. This is new for us too. We both had doubts. We had our first couple of days were technologically challenged on both sides. You know, I still think I look so goofy with these white things hanging in my ear. I still got this camera taped up with this blue tape over here. Jamie's got hers. So we're still figuring it out, but we feel like, okay, so what? We're not doing it perfectly. We are called to serve. Stop worrying if you show up perfectly or you look perfect. Show up to serve. And enough times doing that, you're recognized.
So good what you said. And I always, one of the things I think about a lot is we all face opposition, right? Sometimes it is our inner critic, but we also all have a calling. And I think that so many times, I believe always your calling is stronger than your opposition. But so much of life comes down to which one we listen to.
Yes.
And you talk about, Dr. Martin Luther King, and I think obviously so much opposition, during his time, and obviously his calling was so much bigger, right? And that's what he listened to. And I think that, I don't know, I just keep going back to those words you shared earlier too, about walking into a room and instead of saying, here I am, saying, here you are, right? I think that's when we make it not about us and it's something so much bigger than us. For me, I think that's, in my journey, that's, how one of my best strategies for overcoming that inner critic, because for me, that inner critic is there every single day. Every single day. I even doubted, even though I've gone on national television thousands of times in no makeup. This is my first growth day morning show in no makeup. And I had a moment where I'm like, but it's like, oh, no. The only way to have authentic human connection is to fully show up as ourselves. The only way to serve is to not worry about stuff like that literally doesn't matter, right? And so it's kind of growth in progress, growth in process, I think, for so many of us, and some of the tips you shared on how you frame in your own mind that inner critic. I've never heard that before. That's so powerful. That's so powerful, as if it's the station summoning you to get so angry that you're like, F that, and you transcend it. Huge.
Yeah, it's your best friend egging you on, saying, oh, it's like if your best friend was like, oh yeah, you suck. And you're like, hold it. It's just like if you ever saw people playing sports and you're playing basketball with someone, the crap talking is done to summon a higher level of game. They've actually measured this in communication studies in sports. Less crap talk tends to lead to less incredible performance. And it's not because we're not diminishing each other. We're egging each other on to play at a higher level. Now, I know there's lots of judgment about even that in sports, but I think my point is recognizing that all your inner fears aren't meant to shut you down. They're meant to help you pay attention. You were talking about resistance and all the resistance. And I hope everybody, by the way, spend some time today watching some, speeches from Dr. Martin Luther King. If you haven't read the autobiography, the official biographies, or any of his collected works of speeches, I can't even imagine this day for the last 23 years this year now. I read his speeches. I have a big book that my dad gave me that I just read his speeches. And it's so powerful to see what he was willing, and not just him, the entire Southern Christian Leadership Conference and so many other great leaders of that time, trying to really speak up for something. And he said, if our main question is, who were you serving? And he said that if we aren't willing to speak up for what is right, then we're not living life. And so many of his great quotes that everyone will share on the internet today, I'm sure, just remind us to stand for something. Even if you are scared, stand for something. You're not doing a magazine shoot today. You're standing for something today. You're standing for a message. Yeah. We aren't worried about our insecurities of, I'm like, is my kettlebell in the shot today? I hope not, and I don't even care. It's like we stand for something at Growth Day. We stand for the belief that you can grow, that you can change, that you can have better days, that you can shift your attitude. We stand for something. So we're not trying to make everything pretty. You're going to stand for something today. And everyone needs to realize, what do you stand for today? What is it that you stand for? And the less you ask yourself that, the more the insecurity voice just fills it in. Oh, you aren't intentional enough to stand for something? Let me just fill it in with some noise here.
Yeah.
That's what happens. I would say your negative self-talk is because you haven't filled in the void.
Yeah, so good.
You got to. I work on this. Look at this. I got this. I pulled this off the desk. This is a calendar of affirmations from Hay House. This is Louise Hay. I hope you all read "You Can Heal Your Life" from Louise Hay. Louise Hay and Wayne Dyer, who were like who really made and rounded out Hay House with Reed Tracy as CEO. it's a whole book of affirmations. I've been doing personal development for 20 years professionally. I still read my affirmations and I read them out loud because I want that voice to be activated. I would love for you all in your morning routine to read out your Bible verses or read out your favorite motivational quotes or read out that part of that spiritual text that you love. Read something out, like activate the voice. You've been given voice. You have the blessing of speaking. You've been given voice. Activate that in a positive, affirming way. And it becomes a language pattern in your head that's louder than the insecure, quiet things. You know what I mean?
Ladies and gentlemen, rock this house and welcome to the stage, Jamie Kern Lima! Jamie Kern Lima!
Every single one of us has had someone tell us we're not enough. Every single one of us has had someone say words to us that hurt.